Welcome to our Manufacturing Day session. SWM presents Careers in the Wood Industry. I'm Adam Kessler. I work for AWFS and Society of Wood Manufacturing, or SWM. Also helping me out is Adria from AWFS. Today we are going to watch a brand new video about a company in the woodworking industry, and we will talk to some industry professionals. I'd like to go over some housekeeping rules first. If you have any questions or comments throughout the presentation, please post them in the chat or Q&A sections. We will answer attendee questions throughout the session. And this session is being recorded. And we would also like to thank our industry guests who have joined us today. Okay, I'm happy to share with you a brand new video that we just released today about the woodworking industry. We really hope that you like it. This video is about Architectural Woodworking Company, a business that does high-end and commercial woodworking for clients in Los Angeles. Let's check it out.
Hi, my name is Saul Martin. I work for Architectural Woodworking Company. I'm the VP of Manufacturing here at the facility. We do a lot of one-of-a-kind pieces. It gives you the opportunity to think out of the box and do creative stuff as opposed to, well, I'm building a box. Now, right here, rarely do we do the same thing twice. You gotta get a little bit of everything to be successful in this industry.
Hi, my name is Eric Suzuki. I work here at Architectural Woodworking Company where I'm the chief detailer. We take the architectural and design concepts that are in the architectural drawings and figure out how we're going to go ahead and build those things. The passion comes from the challenge in figuring out, how to build things. You get these unique architectural designs. Sometimes it takes a lot to figure out how we're going to have to build that. I took a lot of shop classes in high school and intermediate school. I immediately went into trade school. I went to LA Trade Tech. I was an apprentice when I started here too, so I'm living proof that you could start at the very bottom and work your way up to a managerial position.
My name is Ted Norvell. I work for Architectural Woodworking. I work in the milling department. Is beginning the first phase of working off of shop drawing and cutting all the plywoods, veneer, laminated plastic, solid wood, put it all together and get it ready for the bench department to be assembled.
My name is Raul Barbosa. I'm the veneer guy and I love wood. I'm the one who decided, okay, I'm gonna pull this veneer for this job, I have to cut it for the length, cut it for the width. We make the faces, we press it, we use a hot press, and that continues, Like we're doing like all this radius stuff. That's, I think, the most excitement to me, when we make radius faces.
I'm Andrew Luna. I work at Architectural Woodworking Company. I've been here since I was 19 years old. I've been doing carpentry all my life, third generation. When it gets to assembly, we have to separate it, organize it, make sure we have every piece that we're going to need. Once we start building it, we have to make sure that our dimensions are correct before applying glue and making everything as permanent as possible. Each time you walk in here will never be the same thing. It's always going to be custom, always going to be something new, and it's always going to be somewhat of a challenge. I started off in wood shop as well. High school, I did wood shop all 4 years. I actually went to a trade school. I went to Job Corps. That's where I kind of got into the cabinet making. I applied at the Union Hall, and this is the first place I came after that day
I am Pedro Diaz, and I'm a finisher here at Architectural Woodworking Company. I need to make sure that our product looks 100% before it goes out those doors. So that includes the staining, the painting, the spraying, whatever it is that we need to do to color match our wood, our products, to make it look like $1 million. I love everything about it. You're learning something new every day. 2, you're never bored. At least myself, you're happy to be here because, man, you got to work on something different today.
There isn't a greater satisfaction than working with a young apprentice and the light bulb turns on and you see when they got something and it's like, wow, I can't believe I just did that. And it's, I can sleep good at night knowing that someone has learned something new.
Most importantly will be the attitude and the willing to learn. Of course, you're not going to have the experience where, oh, they want you to have 10 years of experience. You don't. Like we said, you learn every single day.
My grandfather was a carpenter. That's why I started since I was a little, you know. You have to love what you do, you know. If one day I put a tattoo on my body, I'm probably gonna put, I love wood, you know.
If you are interested in woodworking in general, I would recommend that you just jump in it, just go for it.
I've been very fortunate in this career path because I enjoy it so much. It's literally like going to Disneyland on a daily basis. It's like, wow, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. Fun stuff.
Now I'm happy to introduce to you the celebrity woodworker from the video, Mr. Saul Martin. Saul is the Vice President of Operations at Architectural Woodworking Company. Saul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Adam, Adria, guests. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. Yes, as you said, my name is Saul Martin. I work for Architectural Woodworking Company. I have been there for a little over 27 years, going on 28 now, and I love woodworking. This is what I like to do on a daily basis, even sleep and dream about it.
Sounds good. Also joining us today is Lee Schuette from Blum. Lee, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you. Hi, welcome everyone to the seminar. Again, my name is Lee Schuette. I work for Blum Incorporated. I've been there for 13 years. Little back history, if you don't know who Blum is, we're a European hardware manufacturer located in Austria. There we have 8 facilities where we produce all of our hardware. We also have a facility in America, back in Stanley, North Carolina, where we produce our tandem undermount drawer slide, which is our #1 product here in America. And so we're proud to say that we can advertise made in the USA. So I'm glad to be here and I look forward to answering your questions.
Very cool. Yeah, I've been to your manufacturing facility. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
All right. Uh-oh. What's this, Adria?
All right, we're going to have a little bit of fun before we get into the question and answer session. You may not know, but your MC Adam is also a woodworker. So these 3 claim to be pros in the wood industry. How much do they really know? Feel free to play along. We're going to ask a quick round of questions about woodworking trivia. If you know any of the answers, throw them in the chat, but it's going to go pretty quickly. So our first question is going to go to Saul. Explain a router plane and where to use it.
Wow, great question. A router plane basically is a handheld tool, cordless, by the way. You don't need any batteries. Essentially, it has a chisel that you set the height to route in or mortise in for a hinge, for a plate, and you can find them just about in any old tool swap meet. Nobody wants them anymore, but it's a great tool. Thank you.
All right, Adam, this one's for you. What does TWL stand for in woodworking, and why is it always in that sequence?
So I think you're talking about thickness, width, and length. And that's because you measure your board in that order. So you always want to know the thickness. So, you know, do you have 4/4 or, you know, thicker wood? And then the width is across the grain, basically. And then the length would be the length of the board. So you always want to state it in that order so that, you know, other people know what you're talking about. Right, Saul? I don't know. He's the pro.
Yeah, you're pretty close.
All right.
And that's an important one. We noticed that when with students in our Skills USA contest that a lot of times they mix up that width and length. So it's a good one to remember. Lee, this one's for you. What's a typical sheet stock size?
Typical sheet stock size is 4x8 or 48 by 96.
That's correct. Good job. All right, back to Saul. What does CDX in plywood stand for?
Oh, good question for all those carpenters out there, even cabinet makers. Generally speaking, when you buy a nice piece of plywood, it would be an AB face or an AA face, which is two good faces. This particular sheet of plywood that you're talking about happens to be a CD face, so it's a kind of okay face and a not so good face on the backside. And the X basically tells you it's an exterior glue line, so you could use your plywood outdoors. Thank you. Good question.
Awesome. All right, mix it up here. I'll go back to Adam. What are common rough lumber thicknesses?
So you got your 4/4, your 5/4, your 6/4, 8/4, and 12/4. It keeps on kind of going up. Basically, 4/4 means 4/4 of an inch, so that would be a 1-inch thickness. 5/4 would be an 1.25 inches. 6/4 would be 1.5 inches. 8/4 would be 2-inch thickness. So it's basically, you know, and usually the thicker stuff is more expensive by the board foot. And it becomes important when you're trying to calculate, you know, the overall amount of wood that you're using or the overall amount of wood that you want to buy. You kind of have to know that. So.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. This one's important because math is a critical skill for woodworking. And it's really, if you don't know woodworking, but you have an understanding of fractions and math, then it's going to be a lot easier to get a job. So Saul, what inch increments or fractions do woodworkers use?
Oh, good question. We woodworkers tend to stay in halves. There's only two. Quarters, eighths, 16ths, 32nds, and depending on how accurate you want to go, 64ths is usually good enough. Any more than that, it's maybe you need to get a micrometer or something. But we certainly don't work in tenths, hundreds, or thousands. Thank you.
All right. Lee, what are the two main types of kitchen cabinet construction?
Yes, so the two types of construction, there's the face frame construction, and there's also something called frameless or European style, or I've heard the term panel construction. They're basically, you build your box out of your materials, your melamines, your plywoods, whatever you want to build your box out of. The face frame is generally something made out of solid wood. And then it is attached to the box, making it more decorative. And then your doors and your drawer runners would hang off of that face frame. Whereas the frameless, there's no frame, of course. There's just edge banding to cover the edge, and your hardware is mounted to the inside of the panel.
Awesome. That's really important. That's a big topic and important thing in our industry. All right, well, I think they've proved their knowledge of the industry. I'm pretty impressed, and I hope everyone else learned a little bit about maybe something you didn't know about woodworking. So Adam, back to you with some questions.
All right, we're going to move on to the Q&A section. So let's get started with that. All right, I have a question for Saul. In the video, we saw some different projects being made. How representative of that is the work that AWC does? So all the crazy stuff that we saw going on in the shop. And is it always something different? What's the kind of like the projects that you make in your factory?
Hi, yes, great question. We at Architectural Woodworking have since I've been there, I've always done one-of-a-kind pieces. Of course, in order to be able to make money in this trade, you got to do some production work. So we do a lot of boxes as well, just like anybody else. But typically when we do projects, there's always a little extra that's thrown in there for us to do. And typically it's radius work. A lot of that stuff, people pass it up and say, we don't want to do that because it's very tedious work. It's difficult. And being that we have all the machinery to be able to produce those projects, we take it on. Of course, it does, come at a cost. But that's what keeps the job interesting. You get to explore and do new things, and sometimes they request specific sit-stand stations per se, and you have to incorporate some of these components into a piece of furniture, or it's just millwork. Good question. Thank you.
All right. And this one is for Lee. So can you provide some examples of how functional and decorative hardware is used in professional woodworking, and maybe, some cool projects that use some interesting hinges that you've seen?
Sure. So first of all, I think you have to understand that the trends in the cabinet industry is changing. When I started 34 years ago, cabinetry consisted of exposed hinges and 3/4 extension drawer slides. And that's not the case anymore. Everything is concealed hinges, but for the most part, full extension, undermount drawer slides, everything with what they call a soft close. Blue Motion has it as Blue Motion. So that's the trend that we're changing all the time. The newest trend that I see is something where customers want a touch latch opening. They want their cabinetry to be handle free, so no knobs and pulls. And Blum has a product for that. We call it Tip on Blue Motion. So it does exactly what the homeowner wants it to do. But the issue is for the cabinet maker, because it is different hardware altogether. Sometimes the box construction has to be made differently. We have to know the weight of the drawer boxes, the size of the drawer boxes. It's just different, and that's my job when I work with the cabinet maker to, first of all, make sure he orders the correct hardware, and then help him with the installation so that the job goes smoothly, so it's exactly what the homeowner's looking for.
Great. Okay, we have one for Saul here. What is a memorable challenge that you experienced during your woodworking career that provided to be a valuable lesson?
Yeah, good question. As we saw in the video there, midway, there was a picture of a conference room that had a 18-foot diameter table. That's probably the most memorable job as of recent, only because of the compound radius panels that it had. And it really pushed me to learn more geometry and algebra, and doing conical layups of veneer faces was very interesting, and I don't think I'll ever be able to erase that off my mind. It was good stuff. Thank you.
That sounds interesting. Okay. Lee, your job involves traveling to many different woodworking facilities. Can you describe what a successful professional woodworking facility looks like?
I can, hopefully. In my territory alone, I have over 500 shops, ranging from one-man size up to shops that have maybe over 100 people in it. So it's the wide variety. Everybody's a little, quite different. The large shops, of course, have all the modern panel processing machinery, the CNC machines, where they can produce many, 100 cabinets a day if they want to. The smaller shops mostly work with wood. They're residential shops. They're going to have more woodworking tools, saws, planers, joiners, face frame machines, things like that. And they make very few cabinets a day, but it's all custom. But what I see out there, to be most successful, it's kind of unique. It's really the cleanliness of a shop. When you go in, you can tell right off if there's no excess dust, there's no clutter, the machine's looking in well working order. You can just get a sense that this customer is making money. This is a professional shop, and it's just something that it's obvious, but anyway, that's what I see when I'm out in the field.
No, that's a great perspective. Okay, we got a question for Saul here. So this year has been really difficult for many students learning remotely, especially if you're trying to learn hands-on skill like woodworking via computers. So Saul, if students only learn one new skill this year, what should it be? I can't hear you, Saul, if you might be muted.
My apologies. Great question. If students only have one thing to learn this year, or could possibly learn, is learn to use your tape measure and learn the decimal equivalent to a 16th or a 32nd, 64th. 16ths and 8ths is good enough. Once you master the rule and the conversion of your decimals, you can input information into your computer to be able to draw stuff quicker. So if you're using SketchUp, AutoCAD, or any other 3D modeling program, and you're going to measure something that's 3 3/8, you can quickly type in 3.375 and continue to move, as opposed to have to try to pull out a ruler and what is 3/8 equivalent to. Just remember, you have to just consider it as I don't know, it's like you got to memorize it like an order at Mickey D's,
I know them all from my CAD experience, so I'm familiar with what you're talking about. Okay, Lee, could you explain a little bit about your career, or what led up to your career at Blum, I should say?
Yeah, so I have a little history in woodworking. My father had a small shop that when I was younger, a teenager, I used to help him out with. So that was the basics of what I learned about woodworking, power tools and working with saws and sanders and things like that. My first real job was working for a woodworking hardware distributor, and I was on the phone taking orders. So the customers would call and they had questions about different projects and what would work and what not would work. And just that history of learning a little bit about cabinetry helped me to answer the cabinet makers' questions over the phone. And that's what all started. And that moved into, I took an outside sales position, and then that moved into working with Blum.
Gotcha. All right. I'll start with Saul on this question. Around how much can a beginning woodworker expect to earn, and how do they increase their compensation?
That's a good question, Adam, and it comes up quite often. As a young apprentice or a beginning woodworker, you make a little over minimum wage, depending on what your background is. Obviously, you're going to get interviewed. So you probably won't make a whole lot when you first begin, but as you start acquiring skill sets and proving yourself to your employer, you can quickly start getting raises, and don't be afraid to take classes at night, go to a community college, take AutoCAD classes, anything that will help you move forward in your career. You don't want to be working out in the shop all the time. You want to continue to move up into managerial positions, and certainly taking courses and showing your bosses what you're capable of doing will definitely get you more money. So for instance, with me, I've been able to buy just about anything I want. I've made pretty good money. I can't complain about it, and I have a lot of toys. And all I can say, the harder you work, the more you make. That's the bottom line. Thank you.
Gotcha. It's very true. Lee, what about you? What do you like working about Blum? Does it have, good benefits, insurance, retirement plans? What kind of things does Blum offer?
Yeah, so Blum has all of that. What I like mostly working for them is actually just calling on cabinet makers. It's just fun being around the environment. The guys are usually pretty good, and they're really excited about what they're doing. It's not like a typical sales job when a lot of guys don't want to see their salesmen. In the woodworking industry, they do want to see their salesmen more often than not, because they're bringing them information that they want. There's new products. They want to show off what they're building. They're excited about what they're building. So I mean, that's the fun part of it, just visiting with the customers and letting them know what's out there.
Yeah, yeah. a lot of people take a lot of pride in things, especially when they're hand built. So.
Exactly.
Okay. So here's a question we'll ask Saul. What are some hidden careers in the woodworking industry that people might not think of or know about?
You know, in the woodworking industry, there are so many branches that you can go off of. And the one that I always tell the students or try to instill even in local schools is teaching mechanics. Because a lot of guys, there's a lot of guys that like to wrench and work on cars. Being a technician, working on machinery that breaks down in shops is a big issue. A lot of shops need technicians to take a call, you know, in the middle of the night to come and repair a machine because something happened to it. So mechatronics, if you can take a class in mechatronics, it would be very useful for you, and you can make a very good living at it. And as well as other careers, I mean, the sales, obviously, and not just in woodworking or hardware, but there's finishes, there's glass, there's stone. There's so many things that come into play when you're working with an architectural mill worker, and there's a lot of them out there, trust me. There's plenty of work to go around. Thank you.
All right. Adria, do you have a few questions from the Q&A and comment section?
Yeah, we have a couple. This kind of ties into actually what Saul was just talking about and Lee's comment. As far as hidden careers, I think people don't think about careers within the hardware companies and the machinery companies, those that are providing supplies and equipment for woodworkers. And Lee mentioned that people enjoy seeing their rep, their salesperson, and that's not a coincidence for Lee and Blum, because Blum has a really good reputation within our industry. Personally, I have not met a Blum person I don't like. Everyone is lovely. They do a great job training their people. They have a world-class apprenticeship program. So I guess my question to Lee would be, within Blum, are there any pain points or areas where you guys really need people, and what type of skills or what are the positions there?
At Blum itself? Yeah, so I mean, we're a manufacturing facility, so we have everything from, you know, people working in the warehouse, people driving forklifts, people on the lines making our products. We have a full marketing staff where we do all of our own advertisement. We make all of our own catalogs. We're heavily in, you know, sending out YouTube videos and things like that. Of course, we have a sales force across the country. So there's every aspect in a business that we have every opportunity. We do, you know, whatever your education level, whatever you want to do, the great opportunity to work for Blum.
Great point. Thank you for that. And that's, I mean, all of the companies are looking for marketing, and so sales and all of those office type positions as well. So there's, even if your calling isn't working with wood, there's certainly opportunity in other areas of the companies. So here's a little fun one to maybe leave us off. A couple students asked, what would you both be doing if you weren't in woodworking? Would you be building or doing something similar, tangential, or totally different?
Well, if I was not in woodworking, I think I would have been probably an automotive technician or somebody dealing with a metal or a fabrication of that respect. I just like to build stuff. And part of the reason why I took woodworking and not the other trades, because I did not like oil in my fingernails. And so dust I could just blow off and go home. The grease and all that grime, give it to somebody else. Thank you. How about you, Lee?
You know, it's funny. I never really thought about it that much. I kind of just got into this industry, and I just liked it. But I probably wouldn't be working per se with my hands like a mechanic or something like that. I'd probably go into maybe like a history teacher or something like that. It's just a different than the sales.
All right. Well, thank you for everyone who has submitted questions. So we're going to start wrapping up here. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, especially our industry guests. We hope that you all enjoyed this session, and feel free to chat in what your favorite part was. If you'd like to learn more about careers in the woodworking industry, check out woodindustryed.org. You can also feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk to myself or any of the panelists. My email is adam@awfs.org. You can see it on the screen here in the trees. And finally, be sure to check out manufacturingday.com website for more Manufacturing Day events taking place throughout this month. I know we have 2 more woodworking themed videos coming out that were part of Manufacturing Day, so we'll be sure to share them with everyone. Other than that, we'd like to thank everybody and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.